Well, the latest buzzword in Hollywood is consolidation. Analysts are looking for a major M&A wave to hit LA, and some say only 3 studios are strong enough to weather the storm. Well, our next guest is Prough of Salem Partners. He's helped navigate deals at places like MGM and Sony. Stephen, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, first of all, what are the chances that only 3 studios are left in 4 or 5 years from now?
Hi, Francine. I actually believe the chances of that are fairly low. I mean, these 6 studios have been around for each more than 80 years, and I think the chances that 3 of them will go away are probably very small. I think where you could see a lot of M&A activity is among some of the smaller distributors, such as MGM or DreamWorks Animation, which actually are very large owners of content, and that seems to be what the major media companies are after these days, is content.
But Stephen, I mean, the rationale behind it is what, just to build libraries? Because what about the cost? I mean, there doesn't seem to be any cost savings in that.
There are enormous costs that are associated with the distribution infrastructure to distribute a film worldwide, but there's also a lot of value in that infrastructure. I think what you might see is a couple of the studios getting together and maybe merging their home video infrastructures or merging their international infrastructures, but I think the chances that studios will merge completely is probably very low.
Stephen, how difficult is it to value these assets? We've had the back and forth between Comcast and NBC Universal, but when you look at some of these other smaller studios, how do you put a value on the film library?
Well, the film library is actually fairly easy to value. There's a set of assets, and those assets are going to generate cash into the future, and it's pretty easy to project that out and discount it back. Where it's difficult to get your arms around value is what is the value of the ongoing enterprise, because that has to do with what kind of hits are going to come out of the infrastructure in the future, and that obviously is very difficult to predict, even for people that are in the business.
Stephen, in terms of these smaller distribution M&A, how are they going to fund it? I mean, cash, they have little cash, and financing is still difficult out there.
Financing is difficult, but the major media companies actually do have a substantial amount of cash on the balance sheet that they've been compiling there since the credit crisis began. I mean, I would look to see a Time Warner or a Fox purchase something like an MGM, and that is something that they could do with the cash on their balance sheet.
So a big M&A deal, and this would be what, in the next year or so?
I would say in the next year or so, yes.
But they've announced they've been cutting production. Are we going to see job losses if these 2, for example, merge, the ones you were talking about?
It's quite possible. You know, the Hollywood production infrastructure has been shrinking, so it's possible that you can see consolidation in the production activity. The job losses that would come from the acquisition of an MGM are not as significant as the job losses that would come from, say, a Universal merging with a Warner Brothers or a Fox. That would be 2 complete, full worldwide infrastructures getting merged together, and you'd see one of them just go away.
Stephen, Paramount also said that they wanted to focus now on quality films instead of quantity. Is this a trend of things to come?
You know, Paramount, among the major studios, was one of those that was left out in the cold with respect to film financing. Most of the major studios at the end of the credit boom achieved financing for their films for the next 3 to 5 years, and Paramount was one of those that didn't. So I'm not surprised to see that they would actually reduce the number of films in their slate to just try to minimize the amount of money that's going into budgets overall. I think some of the other studios will probably continue with the same level of production activity that you see now.
Stephen Prough, thank you so much.